could call it controversial hour.
All right.
Controversial hour with Sam and James. Two controversial topics.
All
We'll
right.
go in there today,
All right.
okay?
Mm.
So go on then. You lead us off,
Which
mate.
one?
Well, the first one, the one you were just talking about.
Oh, the athlete one with so like
Yeah.
yeah. I saw an athlete talking about, certain exercises you shouldn't do when you get to a certain age. So yeah, I guess that is the hypothesis. Are there dangerous?
Hypothesis.
Yeah, I know it's very scientific. We're going to be here, aren't we, sir?
Okay.
Very yeah. Are there dangerous exercises once you get to a certain age?
Hmm.
So is
Oh,
any
that's
is
a-
any is any exercise, is there one or any specific exercise that once you hit a certain age, it is inherently dangerous for you?
Well, we talked about this before. I
Yeah.
remember on the DM. We talked, it was in Portugal. We talked
No,
about it.
it was in November.
James is like, it was on November 2nd
Yeah.
at 4:34 p.m. in the afternoon. I remember on the
In
DM, wasn't
memory.
it?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Yeah, November. That was very specific. We were chatting about this, and I look because he used the example of a deadlift, didn't he? I think
Yeah,
something
deadlift
like
in
that.
head. Yeah.
And look, I think that there are movement patterns that carry an inherent risk with them.
Mm.
Absolutely. I think you think differently to me on that, which,
Yeah, yeah, we can go into it if you
yeah,
want.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and the reason behind why I say that is like anything that you do, it's like, there's certain positions that your body just shouldn't be in,
Mm.
and I think there's a difference if you're actually trying to train those movements, right? So the idea is that there's an adaptability process, right, to those movements. So you gradually expose yourself
Mm.
to the load over time. Your body adapts to that load, and then you basically are able to do that movement. Now, the problem is, and the way that I define training is that over time, that movement, for it to be training, needs to get progressively more stressful. So if the movement pattern that you pick doesn't allow for you to handle heavy enough loads, or when you do eventually handle heavy enough loads, you hurt yourself. A perfect example of this is that functional patterns.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the positions that like you see that dude end up in, it's just crazy. It's like and I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, like, he adds a bit more weight to that. He's going to really mess himself up,
Yeah.
So there's certain movement patterns out there that they just don't allow enough loading for it to be worthwhile and consider training. Or if you do eventually get to that point, then you're going to hurt yourself, and that's just the way it is. So there are definitely positions you can put your body in which just aren't optimal.
Mm.
That being said, saying that a deadlift is one of those movements, or a squat is one of those movements, to me is absolutely wild. Because you can use good technique.
Mm.
Everything is tight, everything is stable. You're keeping the bar over the midfoot. I just don't understand why that movement would carry an inherent risk with it. See, that's my thoughts anyway. But
Yeah.
what's your thoughts?
You're wrong. I disagree.
I'm wrong. James
I
just starts tearing me a new
no, I don't
one.
it's not that I disagree as such. I just think there is benefit from from certain exercises taken towards end ranges, but then
Mm,
my thing is that you don't I wouldn't, for example, like let's take two examples, one being a split squat where you're in full depth, one being a Jefferson curl. So I
Mm.
think they are two movement qualities that you can develop and have benefit for developing your strength in end ranges, improving your mobility. What I wouldn't do is I wouldn't I've seen plenty of people do it. I wouldn't personally recommend going body weight on a Jefferson curl, in that deep spine flexion.
What do you
Likewise,
mean body weight? Just like
loading your body weight on a bar. So for you putting 92,
right.
what are you, 92 kilos around that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you standing up on a box, 92 kilos on the barbell, and then going into that deep spinal flexion. Like, could you build up to it and could your spine probably tolerate it? Yes. But I don't think there's necessarily a great benefit to progressively overloading to that higher degree when
Yeah.
you're in like deep ranges at that. I think, but I do think there is people can reap a benefit from going into those end ranges and getting comfortable where they feel safe.
Mm.
Like I've seen a lot of people go, "Oh my God, if I did what you did, I think I'd blow my knees up or my hamstring would snap or something." And that's just because people have a sense of fear with going into an end range that they're not used to. So that's where I
Yeah.
think that is.
It's the same with sprints, as we were talking about. People aren't used to
Yeah,
putting
yeah,
their body in there, right? But
yeah.
I think we do agree. I
Mm,
think it's just a different way of looking at it. I because I do agree that you should put your body into positions, into end ranges.
mm,
Absolutely. I just think that the problem is calling it training,
mm,
because if it's training, it needs to be more stressful all the time. And as you said, there's a limit that you would
mm.
go to on a Jefferson curl or something like that. And I presume for the reasons that I outlined.
Yeah.
So, if we're talking like mobility or wherever it might be, or, but for it to be training, it needs to be progressively more stressful. So I wouldn't necessarily call that training. I'd call that almost a separate piece, whatever you want to call it. But also as well, I've seen a squat, a deadlift. You're definitely going to get that general systemic strengthening effect.
Yeah.
But yeah, this whole idea then of like like squats and deadlifts, I shouldn't be doing them because I don't want to hurt myself, or the risk, versus reward isn't there. Like we've talked about this so many times.
Mm.
Like, it's not the movement to to be bashing necessarily,
Oh no, it's
I'd
yeah.
understand if he said, do you know what? Like, I don't want to be doing walking lunges and rotating, and like loading
Or
that
even if you said
after.
do 1 RM.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, absolutely. But to say I'm just going to cut deadlifts out entirely,
Mm.
and no doubt though, he'd go to a trap bar, no doubt. So
Yeah,
trap
yeah.
trap bars are on the menu, but straight bar deadlifts, nah, son, we can't be doing that. Because apparently they're more dangerous. But the only people I think that ever say that really just don't know how to coach a deadlift properly.
Mm.
Because if you know to coach a deadlift properly, like anybody would tell you that it's not a hard movement to learn. Like it's a
Mm.
very, very simple movement to learn, and even Eddie Hall came out and talked about how the deadlift was like this bad exercise.
Did
Or
he? All right, okay.
oh yeah, 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 mate. I did a post where a reaction video, and he kind of just came out and said deadlifts are bad for your back. I don't know
Mm.
if he was trying to be provocative or whatever, but it just goes to show the difference between someone who is an athlete and
Yeah.
someone who is a coach.
Mm.
Very, very different things. Like Eddie Hall, I'm not being funny. I've seen him how he teaches the deadlift, and he can't coach the deadlift.
Right.
He's a genetic freak and he can lift a lot of weight, but he doesn't know how to coach a deadlift. I've seen it tons and times
Yeah.
before.
I mean, just because you can do the thing doesn't necessarily mean you can coach the thing, you know?
Yeah,
Like Tiger
100%.
Woods, Tiger was the best golfer ever to play the game. You can obviously coach the game, but that doesn't necessarily make him the best golf coach in the world because
Right.
He's unbelievable hitting the ball, just like Roger Federer in tennis, amazing players, but that doesn't automatically qualify you as being able to coach it.
I don't think people understand the value in being stronger, as you age. Like lifting weights should be a priority, especially as you age.
Mm.
Just today, I went on social media and one of my clients sent me over this post of this, older woman. I'd say she, and she was talking about how she doesn't think you need to lift heavy weights as you
Mm.
age, and you can get away with lifting light or moderate weights because it apparently has the same effect as heavy weights, and because a study backs it. Studies come out and said, oh, light to moderate weights have the same effect on bone density and longevity and stuff like that. And of course, like lifting is better than no lifting.
Yeah.
Nobody's saying that, but to just dismiss this idea that you don't have to lift heavy weights and somehow that's not going to have an impact on your quality of life. It's like, no, you get strong. In the act of trying to get stronger, that's where the value is.
Yeah.
And it's a really important thing that I think people just think, I'll just trap bar my way to getting strong.
You hate the trap bar, don't you?
I hate it. Can't stand it because I didn't see a place for it.
Right.
I just didn't. I'm like, at the end of the day, if you can deadlift, why would you trap bar deadlift?
Mm.
But yeah. Anyway, anything else to add on to that?
No, I think, yeah, you've nailed that one off, haven't you?
Take my swig of Coke Zero.
You're a
Hey,
Spartan.
the carnivores would hate that, wouldn't they? Huh? They've been
Anti.
coming after me, mate.
Yeah.
They've been coming after me in their herds and their tribe. You know, the carnival warriors, mate. They've been after me. Have you seen some of the comments?
I did see it on your post this morning on the muesli one, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, the muesli one. So I obviously
Silly.
posted up a bowl of my muesli that I had in the morning, obviously full of grains and sugar, and yeah. So that's the second topic we wanted to get into.
Yeah, do you know
I
what? Yes.
tell
Go on. You kick it off on this.
well,
You got
because
some.
yeah, because I wasn't surprised to be honest. I was like, I was anticipating there'd be a
Mm.
few people that would comment. And it was down to the new food pyramid. So I don't know if you've seen it, like
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
out in
Yeah.
the US. And anyway, it's super confusing because apparently they're still recommending the same amounts, but the what do they call the word for the not diagram? What do they call it? Um, when it looks like a cartoon. I've
Pyramid.
got
Pyramid.
yeah, but what's the word when the animation or
Oh,
whatever?
right. Okay.
You
Right.
know what I'm saying? The pyramid, the
Yeah.
animation of
Yeah, I know.
they've put grains at the very peak
Yeah.
and like bread and stuff like that. And
Like
I was
minimal
basically
consumption. Yeah.
yeah, I was basically calling that out, and oh mate, they're all in there. They're like should I read out a couple comments
Yeah,
from the
go on.
haters?
I got two things to say about this.
I
Like,
can't wait to hear your thoughts on this. I want to. This is why I wanted to bring it up. Okay, so here are a couple of my comments from the haters. Where is it? Um, so first one, um, because grains are not part of the diet we humans have been designed for, never eat a single grain ever again, and you'll still live a happy and healthy life. Our biology requires protein and fat. Carbs are not essential, so a bowl of muesli with dried fruit is not species appropriate
oh
for
fuck.
humans. Mate, I went in on him. What's your thoughts on that one, sir?
Oh, well, I mean, like, where do we start on that? I mean, not non like the carbohydrates are not essential. Yeah, that's fine, but like, neither is living in a house. You know, you don't have to live in a house with a roof over you. You don't have to have access to broadband. It's not
Yeah.
non-essential. Fortunately, we live in the world now where we have access to these things, and they make for a better quality of life. Carbohydrates make for improved training performance and improved pleasure when you go out to eat and you can eat a freaking pizza or a bowl of pasta without shitting yourself. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's insane. Let me read a couple of these others out. Um,
And there's two other things that are just completely, a lot of these people that comment like this just completely like miss the forest for the trees. So like
oh yeah,
my first point is like someone who comments that, are they doing everything in their life from a nutrition standpoint then, and a lifestyle standpoint that is perfect, you know? So they
Mm.
get 8 hours sleep a night, they drink zero alcohol. I mean zero, because if you drink alcohol, that disqualifies you straight away. You know,
Right, right.
straight away, because alcohol is probably the worst thing you can put in your body from a nutritional standpoint. You know, you could argue trans fats as well, but you know, there are plenty of people who go over the top with alcohol, and that is doing far more damage than consuming a minority amount of your daily calories from processed food, and let alone from grains and carbohydrates.
Right,
That's
right.
the first point. And then the second one, again, people comment, they have no concept on what that person is doing. So take Michael Phelps and tell him, yeah, don't consume grains. Just try and get all your carbohydrate sources to fuel your training from potatoes. Yeah, good luck with that, you know?
Imagine how full you'd be.
Yeah, that's the thing. So some people, like, I had someone come on board a number of years back. He was a 16-year-old, and he was a competitive rower. His energy requirements were through the roof.
Mm.
Whereas I was also working with his father at the time. His father had a fat loss goal. So I was giving completely different ends of the spectrum in terms of like what sort of food choices they should be making. Like his son was using very fast releasing carb sources and low volume to calorie density. So, you know, around his training, he would consume dates, things like sometimes like
Sounds
sweet
like me.
energy. His father, on the other hand, worked an office job. I was not going to be telling him to do that. He was consuming higher satiating foods, so potatoes, oats, getting more vegetables and starches, fruits and stuff in there. So yeah, this is the thing. People comment and they usually have no background onto who the person is and what their energy demands are. So
But
you can't
yeah.
disqualify something like grains without knowing that.
Well, even like with wine doing, like if I don't, eat the meals I should eat around my training, I notice it. Like,
Yeah,
it's straight away, like if I'm timing everything like I know I should be,
yeah.
then my training quality feels amazing, and it feels like I've got an extra reserve there. But if
Mm.
I don't have enough carbohydrates or if I'm not fueling myself properly, it's a disaster.
Remember that 2 hour game we played in the heat in Portugal, we were playing paddle. Like that day, it was like, just give me a freaking carton of juice or something so I can keep performing. Because like you do that on low carbs, it's just like, yeah, you've just got nothing, have you?
Yeah, I know. We thought we were Nadal and Federer. We literally did, didn't we? And then I watched the video back. I watched the video back. Why? And I just saw me just thick, just like running across the court. And I'm like, mate, there is no grace there. It's me thinking I'm hitting a backhand like Roger. And
Yeah,
I'm
just
just
very
like,
elegant. Bang.
oh, it didn't look that way. Atrocious. But yeah, this dude just went off on one, and there was another one. This just sums her up. No micronutrients, grains are non-essential. Wake up. You are looking at a bowl of sugar, pure sugar. Honestly, like these people, mate, they have no idea, do they? Like this could be an interesting one. And I'd like to hear your thoughts on this because nutrient timing is
Mm,
something, for lifters and athletes is so important. How
mhm.
would you look at that? Because I recommend the 4-2-1-0-1 model. So around 4 hours out before I train,
Yeah.
I'm usually having like, a protein rich meal,
Mm.
good amount of carbs, quite low on the fats, I'd say. I suppose what I'd call a kind of performance plate.
Maybe lower on fiber as well is what I would.
Yeah, lower on fiber. And then 2 hours out, I'm having, something again carbohydrate rich. Usually it's, a bagel with honey on or a banana sliced on top. An hour out is dried fruits.
Yeah.
And then I'm into my workout. And then within an hour, I try and I'd like to hear your thoughts on this as well, because I know it's a bit of a debatable topic.
Mm.
Within the hour, I try and replenish and have like a performance plate or something.
Yeah.
I've just always done it,
Hmm.
after my sessions. Is there anything to that, like after post workout within an hour, or is it just kind of
You
what
don't
you
need to
consider?
worry about necessarily getting the food in within an hour. The one time I would be if you're looking for like kind of I guess to optimize recovery, like if you're going to be training again within a maybe a 10-hour time window, then you want to take on calories and start the recovery process like,
Yeah,
ASAP. For the average person, as long as they're taking on some calories and some protein sort of within 2 to 3 hours, having a meal or just consume a protein shake or whatever it be.
yeah, it's generally
I wouldn't stress it. But
yeah.
if, like yourself, you do that just out of habit, it's a freaking good habit to have because so many
Mm,
people, you know, struggle to get the protein intake or whatever it be. Some people struggle to get enough calories in. So if that's just something you do, which is just like, you know, just like when you finish training, you put your weights away, you don't think about it. Well, just when you come home from training, you have your meal with like protein, carbs, what calories. I would just just stick with it.
Continue to do it.
Yeah.
Is there any sort of, I know obviously for the average person, they don't have to worry about it, but say obviously like myself, like I want to squat
Mm.
600 pounds,
Mhm.
like by June, I got that's going to
Yeah,
be
not your
tough.
average goal. Yeah.
Yeah, so, what would there be any marginal benefit, would you say, or not at all?
I mean, potentially by spacing your protein out across, more spaced out the feedings across the day. There was something before discussed where you're obviously spiking your muscle protein synthesis, allowing it to drop down then like almost like a roller coaster, and then spiking it up again. There's studies come out since where it shows really it's your total protein intake across the day,
Mm.
which is the most important thing. If you were trying to really dial in and possibly get to the nth degree of what you could maximize from it, then yeah, I would say spacing out your feedings more across the day potentially has a benefit. Is it going to make a huge difference? I couldn't tell you, but there's certainly no harm in it, and it's something that you already do. So I can
Yeah,
say,
and I think something to replenish in your glycogen as well,
yeah,
and I think because
just
like
something just from a like people forget that like your brain relies on glycogen as well. So like
yeah,
if you're going very low carb or something like that, we're not talking about like keto and all this kind of thing, but cutting your carbohydrates. That's why sometimes you can be more irritable and things. So for argument's sake, like when we came in from that day from playing paddle, it's like I didn't feel great. And you can go like speaking from experience, I once played football for like 3, 4 hours in the heat on playing. I think I consumed a banana when I was 17 years of age. I wound up later that evening in hospital in A&E because I'd gone hypoglycemic. My speech had gone everything. So you don't
oof,
necessarily know how sudden that's going to come on. So just from a like a safety point of view and to just be able
yeah,
to function better in your day, go back to doing your work and
yeah.
being a pleasant person to be around, probably a good idea to have a post-workout feeding of some kind.
Yeah, I think for me that's why I've kind of done it, and I for someone who's like, again, it depends on the person you're speaking to, doesn't it? But I
Yeah.
think someone who is training really, really hard,
Mm.
and like, some of those workouts, mate, I came back yesterday and I told you, I texted you, I cramped for
Yeah,
like
you said, yeah.
it was the worst cramp I've ever had in my life,
Yeah.
you know and I just think those marginal things like having some carbohydrates after you train,
Mm.
something just to make you feel a bit better, to get rid of this, kind of the fogginess that you might feel, well, you would feel,
Yeah.
after a workout like that. Like, it feels like you've been hit over the head with a hammer sometimes. It's
Mm.
like, it's brutal, you can't describe that type of systemic stress if you've
Yeah.
never gone through it. So I think that it definitely helps me. But again, it depends on who you're talking to, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, that was good, Nick. Informative, that one.
Yeah.
But anything else you want to
No,
add?
not at
We'll
all.
leave it
No.
there. Yeah. Anyway, guys, if you enjoyed, feel free to Why are you smiling?
Uh,
This has become a thing now, isn't
I know
it?
that's good. I was waiting. I was waiting for the reaction. Was I going to let you have it? But yeah, you've all, yeah. Go on, go on. I'll let you carry on. Go on.
Guys, if
Crack on,
you,
sir. Crack on.
I don't like how you're interrupting me now. I don't like
You
that.
actually stopped yourself because you knew what I was thinking before you even said it.
But if we go out to Portugal again, when you were never ordering for me
Oh, I
again
am.
like you
I
did.
am
You're
because
never
the
ordering for me.
pleasure I got from I can't really say that, but yeah, let's just say the pleasure I got from it was high.
Top death. Guys, if you enjoyed, feel free to leave that rated review and we'll catch you in the next one.